Today's episode is an absolute must listen as Matt and I give you the secrets to our My Guys. We got 5 each, and these are names you can absolutely not leave your draft without, and we'll break it down on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominick Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne. And you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to give you a notification every time we drop a new episode, and it will subscribe you to the channel. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly, with the biggest draft weekend in fantasy baseball coming up, Matt and I on Subtext. It's going to be your secret weapon this draft weekend, where you're going to be able to reach out to Matt and I through text messaging alerts that will go right to your phone. Once again, nobody in the industry is offering that. And guess what? When you join the Subtext and you share any of our posts on any of our social media platforms, it gives you one entry into the draw to join our listener league. Very amount of limited spots left that we're going to be giving out early next week, so make sure you stay locked on for that. And if you are interested in joining us on the Subtext platform, you can find the link in our bio wherever you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of the social media platforms. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Matt, this is arguably my favorite episode that we do in the offseason. I know you love it as well. But my brother, you're up first. It's a guy, if you guys watch this podcast, you might be able to take a shot in the dark at it. But Matt, take it away here, my brother.
All right, no doubt. So let's open it up with our favorite player, Mr. Vinnie Pasquantino, the Pasquatch. Still don't like the nickname, but I have respect for Mama. So look, Vinnie Pasquantino, I think, is my favorite first baseman to target. Look, as much as I love drafting like the Matt Olsons and the Freddie Freemans and the Vladimir Guerrero Juniors, there's better value at other positions than around those picks than later in the rounds, right? Where Vinnie Pasquantino is going at pick, 110 based off of ADP across Fantasy Pros, which is across, 4 platforms. So that's why I kind of been targeting him, on top of the fact that I actually think that this year is going to be a breakout for him. Like, we saw a little bit in, the second half where he really started to kick it in full force back in, like, I would say about, May, where he really just kind of started kicking it up. He was batting 261, had about 2 bombs, but 22 ribs that month. And then the next month he exploded. Four home runs, 19 ribs, batting 276. Walk to strikeouts really good too. He had 11 walks to 13 strikeouts. July, another great month, hitting 309. He had 2 bombs, 17 ribs. Struck out a little bit more, but then walked. But then boom, August, right before he broke the thumb, 7 bombs that month, 25 ribs, had a stolen base, and was batting 261. It looked like he was about to get in the groove too. Like, we saw everything. It finally took a little bit of time for the power to kick in. You got to remember, too, he was coming off that torn rotator cuff coming into this season. And, that kind of also delayed the 2023 season breakout because he did start getting on par. And then, boom, here comes another weird injury. So, Vinnie P going into this year, I think, you can't control having a broken thumb, but you can control the soft tissues and stuff. And that's something we haven't seen outside of the shoulder. So Vinnie Pasquantino this year, I think, is going to be absolutely incredible. Dude hits the ball super hard. Average exit velocity last year was sitting at 91. His X slug was sitting at 438. X batting average at 266, which is even better than his batting average posted. X WOBA was sitting at 331, creating hard contact nearly 50% of the time at 46.5% of the time. Needs to walk on how often he chases, but he doesn't really whiff and he doesn't really strike out, which is awesome. He just needs to learn how to walk a little bit more. Pasquantino, can be a serious power hitter. I think the Royals are on the upswing in terms of talent, and I think they might have another playoff run in them as well. So Vinnie P should 100% be killing it this season, and I'm targeting him everywhere. I try not to leave a draft without him.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I don't think we've had the luxury of having Vinnie P healthy for a full season. You mentioned the injuries. He still had 19 homers and 97 RBIs last year. And there's room to grow in the batting average department. Matt, you mentioned the good eye, 40 walks to 71 strikeouts last year. He's going to be a points league darling because of that eye. He's a guy that can hit 280. He kind of reminds me of like an Austin Riley, but just like the first base version. And there's no reason he can't fulfill that. Matt, you mentioned the team's getting better with Bobby Witt and all them boys over there. And I think Bobby Witt and Vinnie P are going to have to lead the charge if the Royals have any chance of making the playoffs this year. And let's see what he does. Matt, great breakdown. I really don't have too much else to add there. Besides, I love Vinnie P, the Pasquatch, our boy over here at Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Vinnie P, we would love to have you on one day if you're interested. Let's move on here. Let's move into a little bit of starting pitching, right? And let's talk about somebody I feel like we haven't talked about him in a little bit. Let's talk about the Bach himself, the maestro, Mr. Spencer Schwellenbach, right? This kid's been flying up draft boards, man, and he's been flying up my rankings as well. I believe I have him all the way up to SP19. There's been some injuries, the Garrett Cole injuries and stuff like that. That's caused him to move up a little bit, but just the talent, man. He's looked really good. So far in his career. He's coming off the board at ADP 25th SP around pick 90. And like I said, that's been moving up of late. He's somebody that I want on all my teams. If I can get him as an SP3, yeah, it's a luxury. But you know what, man? If you got to pay the SP2 price, late end SP2, I'm not mad at it. This spring, he's been pretty solid. He's made 3 starts, 3.55 ERA, 12 innings, 16 strikeouts, only 1 walk. You love to see that. Hasn't given up any home runs, 102 whip. He's just like, he kind of reminds me of like where Cole Reagans was at last year, right? Had a good, little part of a season, was first showing in the bigs and then had the big breakout. And I don't know if he's going to be as good as Reagans, but Spencer Schwellenbach, 175 inning guy with, 190 strikeouts, a good whip, good ERA, a lot of wins on a good team. And I just think Spencer Schwellenbach needs to be on everybody's draft boards. And honestly, I'm trying to walk away with him in every draft I'm in.
Yeah, dude. Like Schwal is somebody that like I truly love this year. The ADP is kind of right too. He's coming off the board, across 4 platforms at pick 90, at FBC 108. So the price is there if you could get him. If you had, Dom said, if you could pay up. I'm not reaching too high though, because again, having him as an SP2 is a little bit rough. I just don't feel comfortable. That 3 is where that sweet spot is. But Schwal has a fully loaded arsenal. I don't know if you spoke about it, but the pitch mix is absolutely stellar. Like let's go into it. 4-seam fastball, slider, cutter, curveball, split finger, sinker. Okay. The only one that throws under 10%, he throws under 10% is his sinker. He throws that 7% of the time. Leans on that fastball the most, obviously, most pitchers at 28.8% of the time. And, was pretty successful last year with a 240 batting average. The slider was sitting at 225 batting average, and he throws that about 20% of the time. The cutter was sitting at 270, unfortunately, but he only threw it about, 16% of the time. So, yeah, he got a little hit on that, but at the same time, he's not throwing it too often where I'm going to care as much. The curveball is really nice. Put away guys 19.7% of the time with that. Throws at about 14%. And the batting average was sitting at like 236. His split finger seems unhittable at throwing at 12.8%. And has a batting average of 147. Put guys away with that 25% of the time. He is a strikeout machine. He has a lot of stuff that he can throw at you and kind of make things kind of happen for you out on that mound. And I like Schwellenbach a lot because one thing that young pitchers struggle with is they have probably about two pitches that are really good. Third pitch is kind of all right. And then that 4th pitch is usually the one that gets knocked out of the park almost every time, right? It's kind of like a meatball. Schwellenbach has, I think I wrote off 6 pitches that he could throw something at and kind of mix with that and confuse the batter even more. And that's what's going to help him be successful early in his career and then make him elite in the future. Schwellenbach should break out wholeheartedly this year. I'm excited for him. Before we move on, because this next guy is going to take me a little bit because my heart's already throbbing talking about him. Thinking about him, and I gotta take a pause on that, and we'll be right back after this. And okay, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find freelancers in marketing, developing, design, and more. Experts ready to help help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives you business flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, and web development and marketing. Whether you need an extra hand for projects or a long-term partner, Upworks makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upworks can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Fast and easy hiring. Post a job is free and a simple, and within days, multiple qualified candidates can choose from you to choose from. Cost effective and growth, right? Instead of hiring a full time, Upworks helps you find affordable, top tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit upworks.com right now to post your free job. That's upwrk.com, upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in the action like never before. Right now, new customers can bet $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 250 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. Picking my favorites, I've got my eye on a few underdogs this season, and FanDuel makes it easy to get back on that spread totals and game props. It's wonderful. Stay ahead of the action, and with the tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. It's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get into the college hoops action all tournament long. So lastly, I wasn't going to do this here because of the back-to-backs, but look, you just got to get in that you got to get in that listener league. If you want to join the subtext, is in the link description below. Quite honestly, we have a lot of fun over there. And if you want a little extra, share, just, share our share extra entries, share our posts on all our socials. That's TikTok, X, Instagram, wherever we are. Even my LinkedIn. Trust me, you'll get an extra entry. But all right, let's get back into this. Mr. Shane McClanahan of those Tampa Bay Rays coming back off that Tommy John. And quite honestly, he's got me excited. My guy is already off to, an interesting start in in spring training this year. Has about 4 innings pitched, hasn't given up a run yet, hasn't given up a home run, only about 4 hits, has about 5 strikeouts going in and a 107 whip. It's encouraging. Everything I'm reading is saying everything's positive. I just would see probably a little bit on the innings limit to start off the season, but I think he's going to be great. He's been great his career as a pitcher up until, him getting hurt. 2022, that ultimate breakout where he had 166 innings pitched, 194 strikeouts, a 2.54 ERA with a whip of 0.92. He followed it up with his second, full year before going down to TJ with 115 innings, 121 strikeouts, a 3.29 ERA with a 1.18 whip. Kid was honestly just like a glorified talent, somebody that was priming to become, probably one of the best arms in the game. So really, dance with Spencer Strider, in my opinion, if he didn't get the second Tommy John. I think Shane McClanahan has some true upside. That's, where he's coming off the board, and we're able to get him at pretty much a steal right now, in my opinion. He's coming off the board at literally pick 121, almost your SP4. I have him as an SP2. I'm all day on this kid. I'm not drafting him as my SP2. Do not wait around, but that's where I think he's going to finish. I think the kid is going to be incredible all season long, and I can't leave a draft without him. It doesn't hurt you to draft him. If you feel good and you miss out on Spencer Strider, you should feel good and try and get Shane McClanahan, because the upside is about the same, and he's going about how many rounds later. So Shane McClanahan is a must target this season.
Very, very well said. I love me some Shane O'Mac too. The price is unbeatable right now. I've actually got McClanahan all the way up to SP20. You mentioned how good he's looked in spring. strikeout upside is going to be there. The only, I guess maybe 1.5 things that worry me. The whip looks really good so far in spring training, but let's see, how he goes as he build up. A couple things. Other thing is, obviously, they're not going to let him go too crazy with the innings. Obviously, even in spring so far, his first 2 starts, he's only went combined 4 innings. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow build-up with McClanahan. I think he maybe sits like 130-ish for the year. Still going to give a strikeout number, like 150 strikeouts. ERA is going to be solid. And then the whip, like I said, that's usually the last thing to come back after somebody's had a long layoff. So, the 118 whip or his, it sounds about right to me, even below 115. So I love him as an SP2. I would just say this, even if you take Strider too, same thing goes for the both of them. Draft somebody more sturdy, either whether it's earlier or later, wherever you're taking, McClanahan or Strider. Just make sure you have a couple of sturdy rotation stabilizers that you can rely on, just in case anything happens to either one of them. But Matt, very good breakdown on McClanahan. Great. He's still only 28 years this year. So I love McClanahan. Great take on him. All right, let's move on. Let's throw a bat in. Let's get back on the hitting side of things. Let's talk about Teoscar Hernandez. I don't remember if he was a my guy last year for me, but he may as have well been because I had him in every single league I was in, and boy, did it pay off. Had a huge season last year with the Dodgers, 154 games, 589 at-bats, 84 runs, 32 doubles, 2 triples, 33 homers, 99 RBIs, 12 steals, hit 272. You couldn't have asked for more if you took him last year. This year, the ADP, he's going as an outfielder number 2, and I'm fine. I'm totally fine with getting a guy like Teoscar as my outfielder number 2. I don't expect him to be any better than he was last year, but if he puts up the exact same numbers that he did last year, he's a borderline outfielder number 1. Powers plus, the counting stats are plus. He's even chipping in 12 steals, which is, a little, gimme. And, he's a career 262 guy. He had 272 last year. He's hit 289, 296 before. So he's a guy that, you're really not going to drag you down in batting average at all. Guy that I draft with that Dodgers lineup. There's just so much upside. There's upside for even more RBIs than 99, to be honest with you. This guy's just, very, very talented hitter. Been around a while. We know who he is. And he's just kind of almost a set it and forget it guy. He's played over the last 4 years. So I'm not even really super worried about his health either. He's been pretty healthy of late. So Teoscar Hernandez, an absolute must draft.
Completely agree. The price is right. Position eligible, like the position itself is a little rough, and Teoscar proved himself. He's staying on the same team. Don't got to worry about him having to, find it, get comfortable in a new city. All about it. And, I think he's going to build off last season and kind of go ham. So great call. This next guy, if you haven't watched another mock draft episode, you'd be surprised. I've converted Dom on quite a few guys. Josh Jung is one of those guys of the Texas Rangers. I love Josh Jung. If you can't tell by all the mock drafts, look, the dude has power that I think is truly sitting there and just waiting for somebody to go and grab him. He's going off the board at pick 200 based off of ADP right now, and I think that it's like the perfect price. You're getting him most of the time, almost every time as UT or first bench player, and he's going to end up being an everyday starter. I feel that the kid is just going to break out. Like you look at what he did in 23, where he had 478 at bats, 75 runs, 25 doubles, a triple, 23 bombs, 70 ribs, a stolen base, and batted 266. Look, on top of that, he also went down to a broken thumb that year. He got hit by a pitch. The guy just stands a little too close to the plate. That's the biggest issue. And messed up his power for that second half. He only hit about 2 home runs that second half, but then was just fine. After the fact, came in last year, was looking good, and then of course gets a fractured wrist again. A fractured wrist this time instead of the thumb. Misses most of the season, but came out swinging when he did. Like when he came back, he had about 178 at bats. He had 19 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 7 bombs, 16 ribs, and batted 264. Right on pace with the batting average. The home run pace is outrageous. The dude hits the ball so hard. If we really look at 2023's numbers, he had an average exit velocity sitting at 91.8, nearly 92 miles an hour. The slug was sitting at 482. X-Woba was 337. The batting average was sitting at 260. So the 260 batting average seems legitimate. creates hard contact nearly 50% of the time, 47.4% of the time. Launch angle is absolutely amazing. The dude is just not going to be good for points leagues. He's going to strike out. He's not going to walk as much, but he's still going to have a decent batting average because he's one of those guys that just, when he makes contact, it's just going for a yard. And, it's going to be a fly ball or a strikeout. And that's really what it is for Josh Jung. I think the dude is going to be monstrous coming into this year. I think he's got something to prove. I think the Rangers are trying to make that move, and Josh Jung is ready to go. Do not sleep on him. He's probably going to be your fantasy MVP going into this year because of the price and because he's going to be your UT guy. Before we allow Dom to go and give his love for him, because I know he does. You'll have to wait after this.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
And that's going to be cool as hell. So I'm excited to see that, the whole bracket challenge and breakdown. So tune in there. Dom, what do you got for us, bro?
Oh, we all know. If anyone's an avid fan, they all know that we love Josh Jung around here. So it's not. I'm sure it's not a surprise to most. I will say this: I don't love him as much as you. I'm not going to call for him to be the fantasy MVP this year. But the value is unbeatable. It's almost like you have to take Josh Jung because around pick 200, there's nobody that can hit 30 home runs and have like 80 RBIs and hit 275. Josh Jung could do all that easily. And the runs probably won't be bad either. He's not slow. And I'll say this, Matt. I think there's even room for upside in the walk to strikeout ratio. He was very, very good in college at walk to strikeout. Even had some decent years in the minors. You look back at the 2021 season where across AA and AAA, he played 78 games and he had 31 walks, 76 strikeouts. It's not horrible. And he had 326. So there's a lot of upside here. And I just think at that point in the draft, a third baseman with that kind of upside it doesn't really make sense to me why he's going that late. So absolutely draft, take him absolutely everywhere. The ADP is just absolutely insane on Jung right now. If you don't walk away with him, and you're not in a league with Matarai, then I don't know what you're doing because you gotta get him on your team. So yeah, that's the Josh Jung love. Let's try and get through all these names. So let's keep things pushing. Let's move on to we actually got some more starting pitching. We got a bunch of starting pitchers here in a row. Let's move on to my boy Jack Flaherty, man. Kind of been just legit taking him everywhere. I don't know if I'm the high man in the industry on him, but I might as well be. I know there's a couple other guys out there. Well, I know the CBS guys love him too. Shout out to our friend Frank Stanfield over there. I know actually I was just listening to the other day they ranted about Flaherty, so maybe I'm not the only guy in the industry. But the thing with Flaherty is he goes back exactly where we wanted him to go. Couldn't have picked a better landing spot. He goes back to Detroit. Last year, he played 18 games with them, 2.95 ERA, 106 innings, 133 strikeouts, a 3.12 FIP, which is an ERA indicator, fielding independent pitching. And then he had a sub-1 whip at 0.95. I repeat, I do not think he will do that again this year, but we're not paying the kind of price like as if he's going to. So even if it is, a low to mid 3s ERA, he's always been a strikeout guy. So that's going to be there. He's going to give you those strikeouts in a plethora. And, the whip, I don't foresee it being that bad. Detroit's a great park to pitch in. Their defense is pretty solid. And right now the ADP on Jack Flaherty is SP 38. Pick 134. Matt and I, had a draft the other day. I was able to get him as my SP5. I mean, and I'm honestly, I like him as an SP3-4. I really think Flaherty can blow his draft. Matt, ROP. He could give you some of the best ROP that you're going. It's return on impact. That's point in term. It's so much from Flaherty, and I think Detroit's going to be better. I think he can win 14 games this year, so he's going to give you a contribution in almost every single category that you want from a starting pitcher. And he's been an all-star before, right? I'm correct. He's been an all-star, right? No, actually, No, he hasn't actually. Even the year where in 2019, where he had 33 starts, a 2.75 ERA, 196 innings, 231 strikeouts, and a 0.96 WHIP. Forgive me, guys. I thought he was an all-star that year. Forget that one's on me. Thought he was an all-star that year. But Jack Flaherty's just so good. The Arsenals looked good. He's been fine-tuning things. Hopefully, knock on wood, the injuries are behind him. They've got all that settled. I just don't see if we can get him as an SP4/5 why everyone is.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, the price is right? Like, I mean, that's the one thing you can't really get mad at. He's another one that could end up being like a rotation MVP because of price. To get a guy that has the upside to him is kind of great. I need to get him as my 4, not my 3. That's really just where it comes down to. I understand he's performed over the last year and so on and so forth, and the talent is there, but there's still a little bit of trust issues. I need to see him do it again when he's back in Detroit, and then I can kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with him. Ultimately, I think that he's worth the pick at this point. But I'm going to move on to another guy that I talked about. We pretty much talk about it ad nauseum. I love this dude. It's Tanner Bibee of the Cleveland Guardians. Look, I can't stop talking about him. You listen to the bold predictions. I think he's going to finish as an SP1 this year. I think he's going to have an incredible season. The fastball, I think, is going to have improvements this year. Everything I'm hearing and reading, he's got good movement, and it's just looking just how it always does. It's sitting at almost 95 miles an hour. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact, but it is on that fringe at 88 miles an hour. But it's still good enough. He creates whiffs. He strikes out guys. He doesn't really walk guys. He doesn't give up. He doesn't allow guys to barrel. Definitely does not give up hard contact. Again, my biggest complaint about every pitcher is create more ground balls. And I think I would have nothing to complain about any of these pitchers. But that is what it is. I think it just is. We're in a strikeout era. He has like 5 pitches that are good. His 4-seam fastball got hit up a little bit because it was just a little bit on the on just like the meatball. I think he throws it a little too much at 43.4% of the time. But at the same time, it still gets guys out pretty often. It's only a 282 batting average. The cutter is actually filthy, though. Had a batting average of 141 last year. He threw that about 25% of the time and was really killing it. But he really kills people with his changeup. He puts people away 25% of the time, right on the dime with that, and had a batting average of 238. Then when he mixes in his slider that he throws about 7% of the time, he puts guys away with that 23% of the time. And he has a batting average on that about 196. His curveball is nearly unhittable too at 208. Like, he has an arsenal that I think he's just slowly developing. And if he could just improve that fastball just a hair, I think that's going to be the difference maker of him being a solid SP2 to SP1, and maybe distribute the pitch mix just a little bit more into that cutter, and he could really take it off. And I think this year we might see it. So Tanner Bibee, I think, is a must draft. The price is right. It's going off the board as an SP3. Draft this kid everywhere. I have him literally just for everybody's knowledge as SP15 for me. I love him. He's going to be a stud.
Yeah, Matt, I'm with you. I moved Bibee up to SP18. He's going around pick 100, SP28. There's a lot of room to profit on him. But, Matt, you broke him down very well, and we've talked about him so much. I'm just going to move on to this next guy, who's actually his teammate on those Cleveland Guardians. It's Gavin Williams. He, I think, has been the biggest riser in spring training. He was a former high-end prospect with those Guardians, and it was always just the control. It was always the control with Gavin Williams. And you know what he's been great at so far this spring? The control. If this man can put the ball where he wants it, forget about it. It's going to be really, really hard to hit him. He's got great stuff. He's 6'6", 205, a big, intimidating guy on the mound. The fastball velocity was up last year. I believe I heard it was a little bit up this spring as well. So if he can figure out the fastball, because that was part of his problem last year. The fastball wasn't as effective as, the velocity went up, right? He didn't have as good of control of it. So the batting average against the fastball in 2023 was 250, went all the way up to 288 in 2024. If he's a guy, if he has it figured out, he was throwing a new cutter last year, which was actually pretty good for him. So if he just continues this path of development as, a 25-year-old, sky's the limit for Gavin Williams. The ADP's been flying up, so I'm not even going to throw out the Fantasy Pros ADP because it's not going to do us any good right now. SP6, SP5, 5, maybe. If you're really, in a deep league and you're hurting, you're in a 15-man. Yeah, maybe even a little even higher than a 15-man. But, I've been able to get him as like my SP 6, 7. But like I said, that's been kind of going up. He's somebody I'm targeting. He's an absolute target. He's one of those pitchers that, you get at the end of your draft, and he's one of the guys that winds up having a breakout year. I don't even think I mentioned the spring numbers. 3 starts this spring, 8 innings, 1 earned run, 2 walks, no homers, 16 strikeouts, and a 0.875 whip. So get this. This is a fun little stat. He's faced 32 batters, and he struck out half of them with 16. I just love everything that Gavin Williams brings to the table. Monstrous, get him on all your teams.
Yeah. No, I mean, Gavin Williams is honestly just going absolutely off. I like everything that I'm hearing about him, from, the corrections he's making in mechanics to the fastball to all the other pitches he has. He's made some serious improvements, and that prospect pedigree, like you mentioned, is definitely worth an ad, and the price is really right. So add him now. Just, don't jump the gun because he's having, a serious breakout. Just be hesitant with that. But he's definitely, if you're able to get him, pitcher 7, pitcher 8, he's another one that can be a serious contributor come the end of the year. But anyway, I'm going to move on. I'm going to sneak this last guy in. James Wood of the Washington Nationals. Again, another guy we talk about too much, but the dude is monstrous at 6'7", 234 pounds. Dude has elite speed, elite power. Showed himself last year where he, was able to say, "Hey guys, this MLB thing, the bigs, yeah, I'm here, I'm good. 9 home runs, batted 264." Was able to show off, and he's doing it again in spring with 4 home runs, 9 ribs, batting 344 already, 232 at bats. Like, the kid is ready to is bigs ready, and he also has an elite sprint speed and things like that where he could steal bases out the wazoo. He's going to be a 5-category contributor. I'm super ready for this kid. I'm expecting him to hit anywhere from 265 to 275, have at least 30 bombs. And my bold prediction from yesterday, go back and listen to the whole thing, is he's going to have 40 stolen bases this year. The kid's going to be a monster as long as they let this kid do what he has to do. James Wood, future of the MLB.
Yeah, Matt, great take. I agree with everything you just said. I moved him up to outfield at 14. This kid is arguably the best young player in the game. But Matt, if you got nothing else to add, I'm going to take us home.
Let's do it.
Yeah, guys, thank you for listening. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review if you like what you hear. And then also, if you're tuned in at this point in the show, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. We've been talking about it all episode. I'm not going to mention any more except links in the bio if you're listening or watching. Just give us the chance there. And guys, your draft's right around the corner. Good luck. And we got one more episode before the end of the week. So see you tomorrow.
Peace.